Elvis. Elvis was a thinker. He was a searcher. He was alone in that there was no one really, when he was younger, that...
Priscilla Presley, the ex-wife of the legendary Elvis Presley, has come forward with a stunning revelation about the king of rock and roll in a recent interview. Speaking candidly about her life with the iconic singer, Priscilla made it clear that the world only knows a small part of the Elvis she knew. According to Priscilla, most people have a limited understanding of the complex man behind the music. But what secrets does Priscilla hold about Elvis, and why has she chosen to finally reveal them after all these years? Join us as we find out. Priscilla reflects on her lover. During a sincere conversation with the Times UK, Priscilla Presley discussed her deep connection with Elvis, the lasting memories she holds, and the strong emotions she feels each time she visits Graceland. Even though many years have passed, it's clear that Elvis remains an important part of her life. Priscilla openly spoke about the ups and downs of their relationship, comparing it to a roller coaster ride. Even with all the mixed emotions, their bond stayed special. She shared how thoughts of him cross her mind every single day. Small things in her daily life bring memories of Elvis. She talked about how just recently she saw a shirt in a store and imagined how Elvis would have loved it. These little moments bring her both comfort and sadness. She mentioned that visiting Graceland still means a lot to her. Every time she goes, she feels Elvis's presence around her. The home is filled with his spirit, his songs, and memories of their life together. Each room brings back moments they once shared, the happiness they found, and the dreams they spoke about. For Priscilla, Graceland is more than just a house. It's a living piece of Elvis that continues to stay alive. In the interview, Priscilla also spoke about what Elvis's life might have been like if he had lived longer. She believed he found happiness in knowing how much his music touched others. It meant so much to him that his songs connected with people. Priscilla remembered sitting with him at Graceland, listening to the songs he recorded. When she asked him why he loved ballads so much, he told her those songs shared life's important lessons and spoke to the heart. That answer stayed with her always. She believed that if Elvis had lived, he might have followed his heart more and spent more time singing gospel music. She said that this side of him was very real and close to his heart. Whenever he sat at the piano to sing gospel songs, his face would look calm and peaceful. He would get lost in the music, and Priscilla felt that those moments showed the world a side of Elvis they didn't often see. Even though their marriage ended on October 9, 1973, it wasn't because they stopped loving each other. Priscilla later shared that Elvis was the love of her life. She left because she needed to discover herself and see what life was like outside of his world. Even after they separated, they stayed good friends and raised their daughter, Lisa Marie, together with love and care.
I broke down and I couldn't believe it. I dropped the phone and I just couldn't, believe that.
Priscilla's heart broke when she heard the news of Elvis's passing on August 16, 1977. In her memoir, she wrote about the deep pain she felt. The grief was so heavy it made her think she couldn't go on. She believed the emptiness left by his absence could never be filled. Over the years, Priscilla has worked hard to keep Elvis's memory alive. She shares honest and sweet stories about him, reminding the world of the kind and loving man behind the famous name. Her memories are a constant reminder of a love that stayed strong, even though time passed and life changed. Today, Elvis still has a place in Priscilla's life. His music, old memories, and the lasting presence of Graceland keep him close to her heart. But this is just the beginning of a list of everything she said about her ex-husband, which means she knew him for a long while. So what was their relationship truly like? Let's find out. A love that time couldn't erase. Elvis Presley was stationed in West Germany in the autumn of 1958 as part of his military duty, experiencing life far from his home and the luxuries of Graceland. Despite the challenges of being in a foreign land without the fame and attention he was used to, fate intervened and introduced Priscilla Beaulieu to him, leading to a significant shift in both of their lives.
Is a real-life bridegroom at last. 8 years ago, when he was a soldier in Germany, he met Priscilla Beaulieu, daughter of a U.S. lieutenant colonel who was also serving out there.
Priscilla came to Germany in 1959 when her stepfather, Paul Beaulieu, who was an Air Force officer, was relocated there. While out with her younger brother one evening, a soldier approached Priscilla and invited her to meet Elvis Presley. Despite being only in 9th grade, Priscilla was taken aback by the unexpected invitation. Her stepfather, after confirming with the soldier's commanding officer, gave his permission for her to go. One cold November night, Priscilla wore a sailor dress in navy and white as she headed to Elvis's temporary residence in Bad Nauheim. Upon laying eyes on her, Elvis was immediately captivated. Despite their age difference, there was something about Priscilla that intrigued him. He serenaded her with songs like "Are You Lonesome Tonight?" in an attempt to win over the timid young lady. As the night drew to a close, Priscilla quietly accepted she may never see Elvis again. Elvis was drawn to Priscilla because she reminded him of his late mother, Gladys. After his mother's passing, he felt a void in his heart which Priscilla unknowingly helped fill. Elvis believed he could shape her into his ideal companion, and from there their story started to unfold. After meeting a few times, Priscilla's parents insisted on meeting Elvis. Paul Beaulieu was curious why a celebrity like Elvis was interested in his teenage daughter. Elvis charmed them, emphasizing how he saw Priscilla as mature and enjoyed her company. Despite their caution, her parents gave their permission. Priscilla, already deeply infatuated, later revealed she would have found a way to be with Elvis, no matter the obstacles. Throughout the rest of Elvis's stay in Germany, Priscilla's world revolved around him. Although she continued school, he became her focus. She stayed up late to spend time with Elvis, causing her to feel tired during class. Elvis even suggested pills to help her stay awake, but she refused. Their growing romance remained a secret because of Priscilla's age. In March 1960, as Elvis prepared to go home, Priscilla felt sad. To make her letters stand out among fan mail, she used pink envelopes. Her parents feared he would forget her, but this wasn't true. Soon after arriving back, he reached out. Later in 1962, he invited Priscilla to Los Angeles for a visit. Elvis added a stop in Las Vegas during their journey, and their dynamic shifted in this new setting. To stay up at night like Elvis, Priscilla took pills. Elvis began changing her appearance, from selecting her clothes to styling her hair and makeup. Priscilla allowed herself to be influenced by the man she loved, striving to meet his expectations. After spending Christmas at Graceland, the visit carried on, and Elvis suggested Priscilla move to Memphis to complete high school. At first, her parents hesitated, but Elvis promised she would live with his father, Vernon, and stepmother, Dee. After much discussion, the Beaulieus agreed. Priscilla enrolled at Immaculate Conception High School and first stayed with Vernon and Dee, then moved to Graceland. Managing school by day and Elvis's lifestyle at night became difficult. Elvis gave her pills again, and though drained, Priscilla felt closely tied to him. Even as their bond deepened, Elvis insisted on waiting for physical intimacy. Despite Priscilla's devotion, he kept other women around. Still, she stayed loyal, embracing his complexities. Elvis influenced every part of Priscilla's life, from her hairstyle, clothes, and even posture. She dyed her hair black, wore porcelain veneers, and mirrored his style. Priscilla admitted to being entirely caught up in his world.
Yeah, so I just kind of followed, what he did. I mean, you lived his life. You honestly didn't have your own life. You lived his life. You saw the movies he wanted to see.
With fame came constant gossip. In public, strangers whispered about her, creating stories about possible pregnancies and marriage plans. The attention weighed heavily on her young mind. After their wedding,
as she was then only 14, they had to wait a bit. Now who could say who was the luckier, the pelvis or pretty Priscilla?
And Lisa Marie's birth, their marriage changed. Elvis distanced himself emotionally. Priscilla felt a growing gap between them, worsened by his affairs. Though she loved him, she sought comfort elsewhere. Priscilla briefly dated a dance school owner and later entered a relationship with karate instructor Mike Stone. The hurt and ongoing betrayals drove her to leave in 1972. Elvis was furious when he found out, even threatening her companion. Friends calmed him, and Priscilla finally broke free. Why they thought Elvis was dangerous. When people think of Elvis Presley, they usually picture a friendly, charming man with shiny black hair, a soft smile, and a voice that fills every room with warmth. He had a special way of making people feel many emotions, from joy to tears. His songs made people want to move, and his performances left everyone amazed. To his fans, Elvis was a treasure. But what many people forget is that in his early days, some believed Elvis was a problem for society. To a few, he was seen as a danger to the community. I remember hearing those stories. They've been passed down so many times. Some believed his stage presence, his singing, and the wild excitement he caused in young people would upset the peace in the world. People thought he was too bold, too different, and too free. Even though Elvis was never officially investigated by the FBI like some others, his name appeared many times in their records. The FBI first noticed him in 1956 when he was at the height of his fame, and they kept records on him even after he was gone. When those files were read later, they showed a mix of fan letters and worries about how Elvis might affect America's future. Elvis always respected the police and loved collecting badges. He treasured them, often receiving them as gifts. In 1972, a letter appeared in FBI records from a man who called himself a police enthusiast, just like Elvis. That man wrote to the president, asking for a badge because Elvis had one and he wanted to be like him. That's how much influence Elvis had. In 1971, J. Edgar Hoover, the FBI director at the time, wrote a letter saying he was sorry he missed meeting Elvis during his visit to the FBI's offices. Hoover thought highly of Elvis and considered him a good friend, but not everyone felt the same way. A few years before that, Hoover received a different kind of letter. It was from a mother of 5 daughters who said Elvis was a bad example for young people. She believed his music and dancing were dangerous, doing more harm than good, and she wasn't alone. At that time, many adults were scared about what Elvis was doing to the youth. They believed his music was encouraging bad behavior, disrespect toward elders, and wild, uncontrollable feelings in young people. A retired Army intelligence officer even wrote a letter in 1956 claiming Elvis was a serious danger to the country. In his view, Elvis's concerts made teenagers so excited that it could disturb the peace of society. I remember seeing that same letter. It described Elvis's dance moves as improper, even though he wore modest clothes. The letter claimed his performance gave the wrong message. There was also a story about 2 teenage girls who had Elvis sign their skin, which caused a stir back then. Back in those days, many thought teenagers could be easily influenced. Anything too exciting or different was seen as risky. So when Elvis arrived with his daring moves and soulful voice, it made parents, teachers, and religious leaders very uneasy. Some people even spread ugly rumors about him. They claimed his fan clubs were places where bad things happened. Some accused him of using dangerous drugs and leading young people down a dark path. Most of these stories weren't true, but what really scared people was that Elvis stood for something new: freedom. He was different from other singers. He connected with the youth in a way no one else did. His songs gave young people energy, bravery, and the courage to be themselves. In a time when adults expected kids to stay quiet and follow strict rules, Elvis came along and turned everything upside down. His music, deeply influenced by African American artists, made some people uncomfortable. The unfair attitudes of that time made it hard for some to accept a white singer borrowing from black culture. Elvis's use of these sounds, along with his bold moves, made some critics even angrier. In 1956, a New York writer said Elvis had ruined music. A Catholic magazine spoke out against him, too. Even the famous Frank Sinatra complained that Elvis's music could lead young people away from good values. That same year in Jacksonville, Florida, a judge called Elvis uncivilized. Can you believe it? The judge even threatened to arrest him if he moved too much on stage. That night, Elvis tried to stay still while singing, but being playful as he was, he wiggled just one finger. The crowd loved it. As time went on, people's feelings about Elvis began to soften. Those who once saw him as a danger ended up admiring him. The young fans grew older but kept their love for him. Even his old critics started to admit how kind and generous Elvis truly was. She has opened up about her husband, but that's not all. Stay with us to find out more. Priscilla's memory of Elvis's scary ordeal. Elvis Presley is often remembered for his bright smile, lively shows, and the crowds of fans who cheered his name. But not everyone knows about the lonely, quiet moments he faced, times filled with fear and heartache. One of those moments happened far from his home in a small town called Bad Nauheim in West Germany. It was 1959, and though the world knew him as a superstar, in Germany Elvis was simply a soldier doing his duty for his country. But even in a peaceful place, trouble managed to find him. During that time, Elvis was very careful about his appearance. He cared for his skin and took pride in the way he looked. Hoping to keep his skin clear while stationed overseas, he hired a man named Priscilla Landau, who claimed to be a skin specialist. At first, Elvis believed he had made a wise choice. The treatments took place quietly in his room and everything seemed fine. Elvis trusted him and was satisfied with the help he received. But little by little, things began to feel different. Priscilla Landau's behavior changed. His actions made the people closest to Elvis, the Memphis Mafia, his loyal group of friends, feel uneasy. They sensed that something wasn't right. According to what I've learned in the papers that later surfaced, Priscilla Landau began acting in ways that shocked everyone. He behaved inappropriately toward Elvis and shared painful stories about his difficult childhood. He even admitted feelings for both men and women. Elvis, known for his kindness and patience, tried to be understanding at first, but by Christmas Eve, he'd had enough. Elvis made the decision to end all treatments and told Priscilla Landau to leave. He expressed his disappointment and regret for trusting someone who had caused him such discomfort. But instead of leaving quietly, Priscilla Landau became angry. He threatened Elvis with claims of secret photos and recordings that could damage his good name. Whether those claims were true or not, they frightened Elvis. In his position, even a simple rumor could ruin a career, especially during those days when people expected stars to be perfect. As a young soldier, far from Graceland and surrounded by strangers, Elvis suddenly found himself in a terrifying situation. On December 28, 1959, military officials called Elvis in for questioning about the incident. It didn't take long to uncover the truth. Priscilla Landau wasn't a real doctor after all. The Army, working together with the FBI, acted quickly. They moved to quietly fix the situation and protect Elvis's reputation. They wanted to be sure no scandal would harm his military record or follow him back to the United States. Elvis decided to settle the problem with money. He paid Priscilla Landau $200 for the treatments and $315 for a plane ticket to London. The deal was simple: leave Germany and never bother Elvis again. The man was supposed to board a flight on Christmas Day and disappear from Elvis's life. But as life often goes, the matter wasn't so simple. Instead of leaving, Priscilla Landau came back, this time asking for another $250. Elvis, hoping to finally put an end to the whole thing, gave it to him. Sadly, the nightmare still wasn't over. The very next day, Priscilla Landau called again, this time demanding a much larger amount, 2,000 euros. He claimed he had given up his job in South Africa to help Elvis and now expected a bigger payment. I can only imagine how Elvis must have felt at that moment. So far from home, surrounded by people he didn't know well, caught in a dangerous situation he hadn't asked for. And yet, he stayed calm. He kept his head up and handled the problem without showing fear. Finally, on January 6, 1960, Priscilla Landau left Germany for London. According to the FBI's notes, that was the last time Elvis ever heard from him. The dark, frightening chapter was over. It ended not with loud headlines, but with quiet relief. Looking back, this story reminds me how even the most famous people in the world carry heavy burdens that no one sees. For all the bright lights, applause, and fan mail, there were dark moments too. Elvis Presley, though adored by millions, faced real troubles just like anyone else. Even in faraway Germany, far from the stage, danger managed to find him. But how did he make this much fame? Stick with us. How Elvis found his way to fame. When people think of Elvis Presley, they picture a shining star with a voice that touched hearts and a smile that lit up any room. But before the world knew his name, Elvis was a shy boy from Memphis with dreams bigger than anyone could imagine. His path to fame wasn't simple. It was filled with surprises, brave choices, and moments when luck seemed to gently open doors just for him. In those early days, Sam Phillips, the owner of Sun Records, was searching for something new. He wanted a young artist who could bring the soulful music of black musicians to a wider audience. One day, Sam found a song called Without You, sung by Jimmy Sweeney. He loved it and thought maybe this young boy, Elvis Presley, could sing it too. Elvis arrived at the studio both nervous and hopeful. He tried, but the song didn't suit his voice. Still, there was something about his tone that caught Phillips's ear. Curious, Sam asked Elvis to sing a few more tunes. There was a spark in his voice, a warmth that pulled people in. Phillips wasn't ready to give up. He called in two local musicians, guitarist Scotty Moore and bass player Bill Black, to see what might happen. One evening in July, they gathered in the studio, but nothing seemed to work. Everyone was ready to call it a night when, out of nowhere, Elvis began strumming an old blues song, That's All Right. The room came alive. Scotty and Bill joined in, and the mood changed instantly. Sam Phillips knew this was it. He quickly started recording, eager to capture the magic. Soon after, a popular Memphis radio DJ named Dewey Phillips played the song on his show. Listeners loved it. The phone lines lit up with calls requesting to hear it again. Dewey played it over and over that night. People were surprised to learn a white boy from Memphis could sing with so much soul. Dewey even asked Elvis on air where he went to school, just to settle people's curiosity. It marked a turning point. Not long after, the trio recorded a bluegrass tune, Blue Moon of Kentucky, giving it a new lively sound. Phillips added a special echo called Slapback, and they paired the two songs on a record. It was the beginning of something small that would grow into something unforgettable. In November 1954, Elvis made his radio debut on Louisiana Hayride. At first, the crowd wasn't sure what to think, but by his second performance that night, Elvis loosened up and the audience fell for his charm. The show offered him a contract to perform every Saturday, which he happily accepted. He traded his old guitar for a shiny new Martin and hit the road with Scotty and Bill. They played in places like Houston and Texarkana. Elvis also made a few TV appearances, and though he was rejected at one audition, he kept going. By early 1955, Elvis was famous across the South. His radio appearances, constant traveling, and popular records made him a familiar name. In January 1956, things took a big leap forward. He recorded Heartbreak Hotel for RCA Victor, joined by his usual band and new musicians like Chet Atkins. The song was filled with sorrow and longing, and when it was released, it quickly topped the charts. Elvis's manager, Colonel Tom Parker, made sure his face and music reached every corner of America. Appearances on major TV shows like Stage Show gave audiences a chance to see him up close. In New York, Elvis recorded new songs, including Blue Suede Shoes, a fun track that became a fan favorite. He hit #1 on the country charts with I Forgot to Remember to Forget, ending his time with Sun Records as Parker took full control. In March 1956, RCA released Elvis's first album, blending country, pop, and rhythm and blues. It included Blue Suede. Elvis performed better than the original artist, Carl Perkins. The album became the first rock and roll record to reach #1 on the Billboard chart, staying there for 10 weeks. Elvis's sound was different. While many white singers softened rhythm and blues, Elvis embraced its boldness. His passionate vocals, lively moves, and emphasis on guitars excited young listeners and worried older ones. Even though he wasn't the best guitar player, his stage presence made the instrument a symbol of freedom and rebellion. In 1968, years later, after his fame had faded a bit, Elvis made an unforgettable comeback. Dressed in black leather, he appeared in a television special, performing with heart and passion. That night, Elvis reminded the world of his magic. He wasn't just a singer. He was a storyteller, a showman, and the voice of a new generation. The day Elvis said goodbye. Elvis Presley, the shining star from Memphis who once amazed the world, was a different man by 1977. The lively spark in his eyes had dimmed, his famous grin was weary, and the man people once called the King was quietly fighting battles within. Behind the fame, the music, and the bright stage lights, those closest to him could see the pain he carried. He was no longer the strong, energetic young man he used to be. His body, once full of life, struggled under the weight of endless tours, the demands of stardom, and the medicines he relied on. The pills dulled his sharp mind, slowed his steps, and clouded his memory. Sometimes he forgot the words to songs he had sung 1,000 times. Still, he pressed on. He would put on his shining jumpsuit and step onto the stage because deep down, he knew his fans were still waiting, still cheering for him. At a concert in Alexandria, Louisiana, Elvis could hardly stay on stage for an hour. His words slurred and his eyes looked tired. The next show in Baton Rouge was canceled when he couldn't get out of bed. More dates had to be moved, but Elvis refused to stop. Whether it was love for his audience or fear of being forgotten, he kept going. Even his most faithful fans started noticing something wasn't right. In concert halls, whispers filled the air. People wondered what was happening to the man who had once seemed unstoppable. Alone in his room, Elvis turned to spiritual books and old comedy shows, searching for a little peace. His cousin Billy Smith remembered how Elvis would burst out laughing one minute and then fall silent, his mind weighed down by worries. In June 1977, Elvis released Way Down, his final single. Around the same time, CBS came to film 2 of his concerts for a TV special. The first in Omaha showed a tired Elvis, his voice weak, often speaking rather than singing. 2 nights later in Rapid City, he seemed a little better. He had dropped some weight, his voice sounded stronger, and flashes of the old Elvis returned. But as the show went on, sweat poured from his face, and exhaustion took over. His final concert came in Indianapolis on June 26, 1977. No one knew it would be his last. Tired but proud, Elvis gave the crowd what he could. He sang, smiled, and thanked those who had stood by him from the beginning. In those final months, Elvis faced another heartbreak. 3 of his former bodyguards released a book filled with painful secrets, details about his health struggles and drug use. Elvis was crushed. He tried to stop the book, offering money, pleading with them. But it was no use. The man once worshipped by millions felt more alone than ever. His health kept slipping. His vision blurred. His blood pressure rose. His liver suffered, and his colon enlarged. Years of unhealthy habits and too many medications had taken their toll. On August 8, 1977, Elvis rented out Libertyland Amusement Park in Memphis. It was one of his last happy moments. With close friends, he rode the rides and laughed like a boy again, holding on to simple joys for as long as he could. Then came August 16, 1977, a day that would forever be remembered with sadness. Elvis was preparing to leave for another tour in Portland, Maine. But that morning, his fiancée, Ginger Alden, found him unresponsive on the bathroom floor at Graceland. Shock filled the house. Calls were made, medics rushed in, but it was too late. In the afternoon, Elvis Presley was pronounced dead. He was just 42 years old.
Good evening. Elvis Presley died today. He was 42. Apparently, it was a heart attack. He was found at his home in Memphis, not breathing.
The world was shattered. People cried in the streets. Radios played his songs non-stop. Fans gathered outside Graceland, holding candles, singing his beloved songs. Though his voice had fallen silent, his music filled every corner of the earth. What do you think about Elvis Presley? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more celebrity gist. Before you go, watch the other videos on your screen.